So we're recording this week's episode of the Midweek Howl, the non-paranormal part of the From the Shadows podcast. And depending on how far left of center we go, this may end up being the Patreon episode. Who knows? But
I was just thinking, hey, when's our anniversary? Never mind. We'll talk off camera. I was going to say something, but
okay. Well, you say
my
that.
mind is going.
Well, you say that here. So they just announced that Monster Fest for next year is going to be, I think, June 29th. Okay.
That's a great weekend for me.
Okay. Because you will be required to be there because
I'll be there.
I started looking and that is approximately about the
June
time
29th.
June 29th, I think, is when it is. I'll double check. But that approximately is when we will be recording our 500th show. And so I'm going to announce it here because nobody listens. But I've got it worked out with Seth Breedlove and those guys.
Nobody listens. All I get.
Nobody listens.
Feel good.
So we're going to do we're going to record our 500th episode live at Monster Fest in front of an audience.
With fans yelling and stuff?
Yep, with fans. We've already worked it out with Seth and those guys, and we're just going to go for broke. So we're going to go in there in front of 50 to 100 people, I think, are in the room, and we're just going to do it live.
For me.
We're going to record it live, and that will become our 500th episode. So anybody that's a fan, if you want to, we'll put up a date here in the next week or two. If you want to start make plans for next year, you can come to Canton, Ohio, hang out with all of us, be part of the 500th episode that we're going to record live, and it should be fun. So there you go. So that's good news. You and I had a long discussion this week about this week, which, when this comes out will be last week, about the news, the thing that's dominated the news, and that's these guys in the submersible going to check out the Titanic. And you are a voracious reader, obviously one of the most intelligent guys I know, and you
were at the post office.
Because I work at the post office. Well, that's an whole nother story altogether.
Oh,
yeah. But you really filled me in on some facts that I didn't.
I don't know if they're facts or not. I mean, half of it I read at Wikipedia, and they tell me I can't. Well, right? Isn't that what they say?
Well, anybody can, I think, edit those pages. So
is that true?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought they had like a supreme editor that got to decide.
No, I think you can go on and actually edit anything in if you want. That's why you got to do some checking on some, before you print it as gospel. I think.
Whoa.
What's that?
Never mind. I was going to say something, but I don't want to alienate the 3 fans I have left.
I remember I was looking up a guy. It was Monday Night Football or something. The guy was doing really good, and kind of an obscure player. And I wanted to check his background out. And on his Wikipedia page, it said where he went to school was your mama. So somebody had gotten in there. And whatever school, it was like Wisconsin or something, and
you're kidding me.
Oh no, and I think they knew like people were going to be looking him up, and so they went in there and just to yank his chain. It was probably more likely somebody he knew, just messing with him. So anyways, whether it was Wikipedia or other, we were kind of talking about the submarine thing, and
we were talking about submarine without a doubt.
And I told you that just beyond them all perishing horribly, just the fact
allegedly.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, here we go. But just looking at them in that confined space, and then me thinking about the fact that they might be out there floating, somewhere all cramped up, like it almost made me ill. Like this thought of it started overtaking me, and I almost started panicking, and it was silly. obviously, because I would try to never put myself in that situation. But I couldn't wrap my mind around what these people must have been going through. And then
you mean in the end? I bet you they were having a blast until the end. Well, I bet you they had. Well, I don't know. Finishing an off start.
But I'm saying, like, at the point where nobody knew they had already perished, and everybody was kind of under the idea that they were still out there to be found in this, and them wondering if they were going to run out of air. You know what I'm saying? So it was at that point I'm like, oh my gosh, this would just be terrible. It'd be like being buried alive or something, where, which is just that's one of the worst things you could imagine in my book. I don't
know, being drawn and quartered and a whole bunch of the medieval Dark Ages shit. I could think it'd be worse, but that's okay. Most people don't think like that.
I hope that stuff is all behind us for the most part.
Oh no, it's coming back. I just don't know when. It's coming back. Yeah,
it's coming
everything old will be new again. I guarantee you.
So the next time I look that guy up, is he's going to be from the school of drawn and quartered instead of your mama?
Maybe, I don't know. I didn't think anybody you could change it that easy. I thought there was some kind of a fact checker or some kind of a deal.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I think you can just get in there and check it. But so what was your take on this then? Since you did a lot more research on it, and what did you think of the whole ordeal?
It was a tragedy. That's what I think. It's an absolute tragedy.
I mean, do you find that? I mean, because I'm not a real big risk taker. Okay, even though I did get married for the second time, but I don't think that was a big risk. You know what I'm saying? I think that was a smart move on my part. So, that's about as risky as I get, walking down the street without dog spray, stuff like that.
Well, hey, that might get you just walking down the street in uniform. You could drop dead. I mean, I just read that, right?
Yeah, we last weekend, I forget, it was Wednesday, Thursday in Dallas.
Was it super hot down there, or what?
The heat index was 117,
and he was packing the mail and dropped dead.
This gentleman was 66 years old, but saw him still working.
He was that generation. Yeah,
yeah, and you know why? His wife in our union, we have an app that for our postal union, and she said he didn't need to work. He had been worked 30 plus years, but he just liked to work and he liked to be outside walking.
Well, that'll teach him, won't it?
Well, and I think I saw a ring doorbell of the house before he walked into the yard that he ended up collapsing, and you could see he was staggering a little bit, and
still trying to carry the mail.
Still trying to carry the mail. Yeah. It's terrible. I mean, and
would you mark that he died doing what he loved? Like the Titanic dudes, right?
You go.
There's just a broad spectrum of love. Some people want to carry Amazon packages, and some people want to see the part of the world that nobody else can.
That's a pretty good segue back into that, because I mean, I can't foresee there being a situation where I would want to be carrying the mail at 66. I mean, I would like to be able to if I wanted to, physically, but there comes a time where you want to be out doing that stuff, we're enjoying your life a little bit. And it just sucks to think of a guy who'd worked that long and hard, passing out and dying on the job. Now, his wife will, she will
cash in, baby. That is worth twice as much, if not more, than
it's
sitting in the old folks' home.
It's worth a lot. Trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, I read those numbers when I get them on my end of the year benefits to Christy, and I'm like, well, let me tell you something. If you can get me working long enough to kill me on the route, you'll be sitting pretty.
Yeah, I mean, yes, wouldn't that? I mean, that almost sounds like the meaning of a movie, doesn't? What was the British movie where they had to get the guy? the dead guy won the lottery and they had to keep him alive until Monday or whatever. What was that movie?
Jeez, I don't remember
Walking
that.
Ned Divine, wasn't it? Walking Ned Divine.
Was it Walking or Waking Ned Divine?
I don't remember. I don't know. I thought it was Walking, but I don't even know. How do I know anything?
So back to the sub. We've talked about everything but the sub. So
they are not coming back. They are not walking or waking. They are evaporated. So if any listeners are worried about them swimming away, and that's what I was telling you, I had been reading the notes where some of these people think, well, hey, they could have swam away when the sub broke up, or if there's no body, there's no death.
Oh,
I don't mean to bust your butt. Hopefully our audience is smarter than that, right?
I hope, but that reminds me of a comment we got. Okay, so
whoa! You're supposed to tell me these comments before we go on air because I'm liable to say something.
Well,
go ahead, let me have it.
Okay,
go ahead, let me have it.
So you and I know
constructive criticism.
We have offended people on the left side of the aisle. Okay,
hold on a second. I think the only people we've offended was the people that were mad about the transmission issues, right?
That's right. But then they were also mad at me. They were mad at me. Okay.
But those weren't lefties. Those were the normal people.
Yeah, whatever, however you want to phrase it. So you'll remember a couple episodes ago, we talked about the wildfires in Canada.
Yes.
And I brought up the article I had read about the college student had done a paper on the 15-minute cities. And you kind of joked around about if you've ever lived in a city, you can't do anything in 15 minutes and stuff.
Right.
And so we had a guy who proceeded to.
Now he's our client, so don't talk about him like that.
He isn't anymore. He swore us off because
what did he say?
Well, you and I are morons. Because
what did he say?
Well, he started off by saying that we shouldn't turn our nose down at the idea of 15-minute cities, and that it's just the usual conspiracy rhetoric of that's their way of controlling us and this and that.
That's what you said, not me, because I said obviously people in the city can't be controlled. Look at San Francisco and Seattle and LA and shit.
Well, I didn't even say. I mean?
You were just reading the article.
Yeah, I was just reading the article, and this guy was taking this article, which he didn't apparently realize was a student's paper. Okay, the student just came up with this expounded
idea because yes, as students think they can.
Well, it wasn't even that.
It makes sense to them if they can reason it out. It makes sense, so therefore it's right. Well, I'm going through it right now with my teenager. I've got a teenager that. Go ahead, finish, and I'll bring you back to him.
Well, what I'm saying is this, when you do college papers and you have to do them for the grade. Okay?
On the subject that they give you in the manner that they give you. Yep.
Yeah. Or, whatever the class is. Okay. So irregardless, this person did this paper. And of course the guy makes it a left and right issue and says, this is why we have to vote red or the world's and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't take that rhetoric
because he thinks the world is going to be,
the world's going to end because
because he hasn't listened to George Carlin talk. The world is going to be fine. It's humanity that's screwed. Right. You know what I mean? This world, ask those dudes down at the bottom of the Titanic the other day how much the world, cared about their billions and their smart deals, right?
That didn't even affect them.
The world didn't even, a nanosecond, my science teacher is a billionth of a second. So in 2 billionth of a second, they wiped out,
yeah.
Whatever those people's entire everything. I got a friend of mine, DB, always says, I live and learn, die and forget it all. They wiped out 200 years, 250 years worth of knowledge, work, investment, money, resources in 2 billionth of a second. That's what human nature did. That's what this world did. The world will be fine. The world will be fine. Go ahead.
So this guy makes this compassionate statement to me about you and I should not, overlook the whole idea of 15-minute cities, and we got to vote red and whatever. And so I just said, because, and he says, that's because the left is he's screaming about the left. And I'm like, my response to him was, look, man, I normally lean left, and I'm not trying to impose that on anybody. So that statement is generally untrue. Okay. That was my response to him, because that's the problem. We lump everybody into these.
I don't know. What was the statement? You mean the vote red or we're going to lose the world, or
both? The 15 minutes.
Technically, I would think I looked at the 15. There is some 15-minute cities like Bucyrus or like Stover, Missouri, right? Or Eldon.
Yeah.
You can get anywhere in town in 15 minutes. So maybe he's right. Maybe we should start. Maybe we should start putting people in small towns and building those small towns up.
Yeah. So here is his response to my response. Okay. Oh and this is directed to me and you. Okay.
Well, he wrote it to you, so therefore don't lump me in with you.
Okay. Well, he lumped you in with me.
Well, that's because
he wrote it to us because we were the ones that did the podcast.
Okay, tell me what he said.
It says, I commented previously because I thought you guys were just uninformed normies. I finally unfollowed.
What's a normie?
I don't know. I finally unfollowed because I realized you guys are idiots. LOL. You need to wake up, and I hope others do the same and start to make a difference for our country instead of being useless morons, which he spelled wrong, by the way, morons.
Well, that do a tripwire to see if you caught that.
That do nothing for us. What a waste of time. Glad you only got 13 views. Please try to help people in your community at least. And I didn't even, and the best thing about it is that YouTube didn't even let that comment be seen.
Why?
I don't know. They hid it. I just
do that?
Yeah. I accidentally saw it. I mean, maybe it's because he just wasn't very nice. But I think it's funny that somebody called us morons and spelled the word moron wrong. And
I was just thinking about a normie. What the heck a normie is?
I don't have any idea what
it's like when I got called a chub up there Chad up there at the Capitol. I don't know what that means.
Wait a second. Did they call you a chub or a Chad?
I don't remember. It was one or the other. And then it was when the trannies were, here we go again. It was when the trains were protesting, and one of them said, the best one I liked, she said, my grandpa's, where'd you get that effing haircut? My grandpa's got a haircut like that.
What's that supposed to mean?
They were confused as this guy. They certainly weren't normies. I'll give you that.
I don't know.
That's the problem. That's the problem with insulting people, right? You've got to do it in a manner in which they understand they're being insulted. Otherwise, it falls flat, right? It's like a joke. You got to play to the audience.
Exactly. I mean, if somebody said, "Hey, my grandpa's got a haircut like that," I'd been like, "Then your grandpa's a really good-looking guy, apparently,
with stud,
with a great taste."
So, you know what? I don't know. Back to this dude, vote red.
Well, I don't. What's that mean?
Big cities. I don't know. Vote communist. I don't know. I don't know. I'm. My old boss used to say, "If you're not getting complained on, you're not working hard enough." He said, give me a guy that ain't getting complaints, and I'll give you a guy that doesn't do anything.
Ooh, you know what? I'm writing that down. I might use that this week at the post office.
So we must be doing something right?
Well, I do. Apparently not in this guy's mind. We weren't doing enough right because he wanted us.
I don't understand. What did he want us to say? Save America, save the world, save the city. I don't know. I told you the other day, I don't know if I want to save it.
Here's the thing is, I'm not sure it really needs saving. Okay. You are a student of history. I know history. Okay. The stuff that is going on today in the world is the same stuff that's been going on in the world since the dawn of mankind. It's just that social media makes it very immediate that we hear stuff, and that it's a lot easier to spread mistruths and lies from any perspective, because it just catches wildfire and goes all over the place. So, and everybody's guilty of it, and everybody should be wary of it.
Because I'm about to run in the ditch here. You're about to turn me into Bo and Luke Duke. I'm about to jump this podcast right off of the ditch.
I don't want to have to make this. I don't have to make this the Patreon episode.
We might lose the other two customers. She said we had 13.
Well, he said we had 13, but that's another. He's more misinformed than any of us.
Number. He can't read it. He can't understand the damn counter down there.
He can't. But back to the submarine. The thing that you told me that I think might, unless we have some marine biologists as listeners, the thing that really shocked me was that you said you got down the rabbit hole researching this and came across something called whale fall.
Yeah, whale falls. Uh-huh.
And that's the term? Whale falls?
That's their term. That's not my term.
Well, I mean, it's somebody's term.
Hold on. So let me tell the audience how I was telling you the other day when I talked. Was that yesterday?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was working.
So it was my dead brother's birthday. So I went down and seen him at the cemetery and went and stopped at my mom's. And anyhow, he's still dead. And she's still quilting. So some things that the world is going to keep on a ticking, no matter what happens. Tell that guy that if he gets back on here, the world just keeps on doing what they do. Dead people are dead. Live people will keep on living. Anyhow, I told you I had read the note. I read. I'm going to be honest with you, and please don't hold it against me. I read the Daily Mail a lot. I know it's written by 12-year-old girls for a European audience that don't know shit. And I'm not saying Europeans don't know shit. I'm just saying the people that read the newspaper, because I know some very smart people in Europe, but there's also some dumbasses. And they read that, they write that for people that don't know anything. So I went to the comments. I love going to the comments, and I sort them by best first, best and worst. When I got to when I sorted to worst, that's where the people were saying, if they don't have bodies, they still have hope. And the other one, well, how do we know they didn't swim away when it broke up?
Oh, boy.
Now, earlier in the week, I had talked to my brother who had told me, I read about it a little bit, but I didn't really stay on top of it. And my brother is the one that said, they're bolted in there, and they had 7 fail safes, half of which bring it immediately to the surface if they have an issue. So he said, it could be floating around somewhere and they just can't get out. You know what I mean? Be on like a piece of driftwood on the surface.
Ooh, that'd be even worse, wouldn't it? Like you're on the surface and can't.
But I don't even know. My brain is so scrambled most days anymore that I try to see the worst in the best of everything. So yeah, so he said, hey, it could be like a Suburban floating around out in the ocean. The first comment said, if they don't have a body, there's still hope. And the second comment, worst comment, said they could have swam away. Well, I'm not even talking water pressure here. I'm just talking about, okay, lady, hold your breath for 2.5 miles down. There's 5,000, how many feet in a mile? 5,276?
In a mile? Is that how many? Yeah.
It's 52 or 56, isn't it?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. A lot of people can't swim 2.5 miles, right?
5,280 feet.
Okay. So let's just leave the water pressure, the 6,000 PSI off of it. And let's just say you've got to swim 2 miles. Well, that's 90% of the world can't do it.
Oh, I bet it's about the higher percentage than that.
Well, I was going to say 99, but then I thought, there's a lot of, who knows? When it comes to drowning or living, then you got some incentive, right? So let's just say 90. Well, swimming, so you take that 10% that we think could swim 2.5 miles and tell them they have to hold their freaking breath for 2.5 miles. Okay, that eliminated the rest of them. Just saying, lady. So, well, I find it interesting. I started reading about Bob Ballard, who found it, and then they started talking about the thresher and certain things. So I started reading, and Do you realize because people were saying, well, or maybe they're going to try to recover the bodies. Remember the first few articles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. There's no bodies to recover because, as we were talking yesterday, they get vaporized. That little cylinder is like a piston in a car, the inside of a piston, a cylinder, right? And that water is like a piston that's 360 degrees around it. And when that thing has any kind of a leak, right? Because James Cameron come on and said, well, maybe they heard a crack, maybe they heard this, maybe they heard it. Come on, dude, they didn't hear shit, okay? They were complaining about having to take a leak, being stuck in this thing for another 2.5 hours, and pop, the switch was thrown off. So when that air and everything gets compressed that fast, the air itself will ignite by the velocity of squeezing it together. The fat and bones and whatever stuff in there makes it
it's the fuel.
It's the fuel, and those people go from people to ashes in 2 millionth of a second, 0.2 millionth of a second, 2 nanoseconds, and then it's gone. They go so fast. If you were a fish and you blinked, you could miss it.
That's crazy to put it in that perspective. But I guess that's how you'd want it to happen, though, right?
I guess. But, me and you didn't get into it. Me and my brother did, about why people do that. When you are a billionaire, because was there 1 billionaire or 2 billionaires on it?
There was, I think, a couple for sure.
Okay. So when you have that much money, I always joke, I'll tell you how you'll be able to tell if I win the lottery. Okay. I'll never get on another helicopter again. I'll probably never get on another plane again unless it's a 777 or something. You know what I mean? My plane days are over. My going out on the river days are over. You know what I mean? All this shit that kills these people, right? So,
what did you say yesterday? That was the one guy had made how many trips? 30-some trips?
34. And I said, that's the French guy. And I told my brother, and he got to laughing because he was at the casino. I went to the cemetery to visit my brother and celebrate his life. And my other brother went to Las Vegas and found a, I'm going to send you a picture right now, a Conan the Barbarian slot machine. My brother was a big Conan fan, right? So, yeah. And he's got this whole collection. I didn't realize there were so many Conan books, right? But on his deathbed, was a Conan book. There was 3 books. I don't remember what they were. I got them.
Your brother was reading Conan as he died? Well,
they were on his death. He was, it'd be like he had a couple empty water bottles.
Yeah.
Okay. 3 softback books, a .357 pistol loaded with 38 specials, which is a whole nother topic in itself.
Okay.
And that was it. So my statistic, brother, I said the dude had been there. What I told you, the Frenchman went 33 times. That was his 34th time. He is what sunk him because, dude, it's just the law of averages. You know what I mean? You can't go down there 34 times and not think one of these days you're going to get drowned.
And he said,
you understand what I'm saying?
He said, that's the first guy you kicked him off and said, hey, look,
yes. He started laughing. He said, that's exactly right. It's just like it's like you're sitting there pulling that arm on that slot machine. If I pull it long enough, I'm going to win, right?
If you can survive all the losing.
You get in that submersible, okay, just like driving to work or just like driving the mail truck, right? How many accidents you been in the mail truck?
1. No, 2. I've been in 2.
Okay. Well, you keep driving and you'll have another one, right? It's just
most definitely,
without a doubt. So, So when they, if I was sitting there and they said the dude's going down for his 34th time, I'd say it's not for me, man, not with him. Because sooner or later, some shit's going to happen.
So then you came. By the way, that's a cool. That Conan is a cool.
So I was this
slot machine. Looks like your brother was winning. I don't remember if he was or not.
Just what he was doing is, I was walking in. There's a little town where my brother's buried. Just a little old town, and I go in the same store and buy these little. My dad always buys a pint to dump on the cemetery and dump on him, and I'm too cheap. I just buy them little aircraft ones, you know, for $2 or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Like the ones that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. So, what?
Nothing wrong.
So my dad buys a big bottle, and I did once or twice, but after that, one day I realized, well, I seen when I was paying behind the counter that they had them little bitty bottles, right? So I just decided, you know, if I'm just going to go dump it out on his grave, I might as well buy him a little bottle. So anyway, I was in there, and he said I had him on the phone, had my AirPod in, you know, I had one AirPod in, so I was talking to him when I pulled in. And I walked in, there was two fat gals working this little quick shop, and of course he's saying, "What you know?" And I bought Pepsi for me, and then I said, "Hey, I need one of them bottles of." He used to always drink Evan Williams, but they never have it in the little bottles. I said, "Give me that Jim Beam," and she was getting it. And my brother says, "You said something when you started drinking or something." I said, "Well, you know, I only drink when I come to Chaffee, that's the town." And these old fat gals started laughing and said, "Yeah, living here's a reason to drink." And I said, and I started to walk away, and I turned around. And I said, "Hey, give me a Powerball and a Mega Millions," because I used a 10 to pay for it. And I had like $6 left or whatever. And I told my brother, I said, "Well, maybe I'll win. You know, maybe his spirit will come down and spin the lottery numbers for me and give me the Powerball and Mega Millions." He said, "Well, dude, I'm here at the casino, and I walk past this Conan machine. I'm going to put a $100 bill in it." That's what you see when you see that picture I texted you. He just put 100 in.
So he just had put 100 in.
He put 100 in that machine. I bought a Powerball to Mega Millions, and then I went up to the cemetery and said my piece with him on the phone, and we dumped this whiskey out, and then he ended up losing. You know, by the time I got out of the cemetery, he says, "I hope your Powerball works better than Conan, because his spirit must be in Missouri, because it damn sure ain't in Las Vegas." So I don't know where was we going with that. Oh, back to the law of averages. Yeah, the Frenchman's going to sink them. You go down 34 times, 33 times, one of these times is going to get you. One of these times is going to get you.
Well, I want you to tell the whale fall is what I want to hear.
Oh, yeah. So I started reading about these whale falls. So I started reading about the Thresher, which was a nuclear submarine, one of the first ones we ever lost in the 60s. And in that article I read about, in the 70s, they started really developing the submersibles as we know it. You know what I mean? And one of their discoveries was, and every time they started going down, so like the Titanic, they found, 25 species of animal life down there, right?
Yeah.
Every time they go down at these levels, they find more stuff. So, but these guys, these two Navy officers off Catalina Island, and I think 74 or 77, discovered a whale fall. And in whale, that's what they call them. And what it is, and I don't remember what the depth line is, but after, I'm going to just say 2,000 feet, but I think it was 1,600 feet. Deeper than 1,600 feet, the water gets so cold and the pressure gets so much that things don't rot. They don't develop gas and rot. You know, like where I live, some old drunk falls in the river or lake, in a day or two, he'll float. In about this time of weather, it's hot as today, he'll be floating 8 or 10 hours. And we'll find him in the morning, kind of deal. But so what these guys were finding were these full whale skeletons, giant whales, sperm whales, humpback whales, whale sharks, I guess is the big one. And so these things fall down there, and especially like the depth of the Titanic or deeper, if something happens and they are down or their lungs are out of air when they die, they fall to the bottom. It's like falling in a deep freeze. And these microorganisms are the only things that can live down there. And it takes them 10, 20, 30 years to eat that decomposing whale. So they have these whale skeletons out there, and the thing I read said they figured there's about 650,000 around the world, in the world's oceans at any given time, being fed on by microorganisms.
That's amazing.
So then the article didn't talk about it, but so when these dudes get buried at sea, if you get buried at sea in the Navy or whatever, and they weight you down in that sock and dump you overboard, if you go straight to the bottom like a rock, it takes you 2 hours or whatever to fall 2 miles, and you say you're down there by the Titanic or whatever, your body might be there 30 or 40 years before it's completely gone. I mean, so listen to this. So these microorganisms, that body's got to stay there. Let's go back to whales, right? That body apparently has to stay there unless it falls within a couple miles of one already, because these microorganisms could only migrate, about 1.5 miles on the bottom. You know what I mean? Without food.
Really? Oh, so if they don't come across something,
so it might be there 5 or 10 years before it ever starts getting ate on at all.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. That is,
I think between that and the turning you into damn ashes in 2/millionth of a second is probably the coolest stuff I read all week.
I can't argue. I mean, look, nature has a way of amazing you every day, and everybody thinks we've got a good handle on it. I think they don't know anything, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, both of those things totally amazed me at how fast those people were disintegrated, and that the ocean floor is littered with whale carcasses as we're speaking, hundreds of thousands of them. That's just, and Lord knows how many. I'm not trying to be morbid, but how many human bodies are down there, at those depths. That's just crazy.
Yeah,
that's
all
just crazy.
Of them, I suppose. Mm-hmm.
Well, we managed to get through an episode and not talk. I had the other thing on my list. Well, I did want to say, I said something to you yesterday. Christy went to the grocery store in our little town, our little 15 minutes. Actually, our city's like 6.5 minutes, but our 15-minute city goes to the grocery store, and somebody walks up to her and says, well, if it isn't the new Mrs. Grove. And she looked and she had no idea who it was. They didn't.
It was a dude, I'm assuming.
It was a guy, and she said a guy who she assumed was with his mom. So it was somebody older with an older lady. And
I don't know if that sounds our fans still live with their mothers. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, I think it was somebody that I knew
that was taking their mom to the store.
Taking her mom to the store that she had never met before. And they had just maybe seen something on Facebook or whatever. And I just said, hey, that's what it's like to be
married to the rich and famous.
I guess. Rich and infamous. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought that was Kevin. But then that's the cool thing about living in a small town. Everybody knows
15 minutes. You can get everywhere in 15 minutes.
Everywhere in 7.5. Let's just be real.
If you go back, you got one way 7 minutes. It's one way back. 7 minutes back.
Well, so we never touched on the other thing I had on the list that we're going to save for the Patreon episode, and that's the Russian invasion. And some of the cool stuff, I shouldn't say cool, some stuff I heard about the guy who led this, I shouldn't say invasion, but this counter invasion or this mutiny or whatever they want to call it. It's kind of an interesting guy. I don't know if you read anything on him, but
just a little bit, you know what I mean?
All right. Well, we're going to end this episode, and then because we got a tornado warning here coming.
Yeah, my dad said it was a tornado out there.
Yeah, it's coming. So it's sunny right now. So I hope that doesn't mean we're going to get hit hard.
Get out of the trailer park before it's too late.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.